There were some big announcements last year that had a dramatic impact on property investment, namely the stamp duty changes. Thank you, Labour, for the last minute change up there. And I'm going to be letting you into a little secret, and it's my investment strategy for 2025. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that I've been all in on boring vanilla buy-to-lets, but that's about to change for this year. No, I'm kidding. It's still boring vanilla buy-to-lets. It is still going to be the absolute best investment opportunity of 2025. But how we approach them, and more importantly, how we're going to find these opportunities, it's about to get a lot harder. The big thing here, before we go into how to find these, the main reason is because of how strong the capital growth is in our investment areas and the rental growth in our areas, both of which are predicted to grow by around 5% plus in 2025 alone. The aim of the game this year is all about speed, and I want to make sure I'm snapping up these opportunities, and the great thing is we can utilize software to do this. So here's what I do. I use LENDLORD. I'm going to put a link to them in the description and show you exactly how we utilize this, because I want to set up something called sourcing alerts. And what this does is I can go into LENDLORD, set up my criteria. They then extract from multiple locations such as Rightmove, Zoopla, On the Market, and auction places, and brings it into that one location, and it's this central place so that I can act on them quickly. So here's how we're going to set that up. So here we go. We're going to go over to LENDLORD now, click on invest in the top left corner, and we're going to go on sourcing alerts. And remember, this is going to extrapolate and pull it from multiple locations. So really simple, we want to get the following alerts. So I don't really look for property increases or price increases. I want auction date reminders, price decreases, and new properties on that. The reason I want price decreases is it can sometimes signify that we're going to be able to negotiate heavily, and they're a little bit more motivated as a vendor. On the notifications, you can decide, I quite like every single day, so I'll just put 7 days on there. And then you're adding in your criteria. So there's quite a lot on there, and this is where understanding your criteria is quite important. A big mistake that people make when they're starting out is, oh, I'll just try and find absolutely everything. It's like, well, no. What I'm going to do is I might go, right, I'll type in a postcode, so LS42JU, which is over in Kirkstall, and I might do a 3-kilometer radius. I know my price range in my area. I'll put 80k, although that's not realistic. It's just to pick up some bargains, up to 150k, and I know that's a really good amount of money. And I specifically will be focusing on semi-detached and terrace properties. So I also put end of terrace there. So I don't focus on flats, apartments, detached, cottages, or anything else on there. So it makes it really simple, and I'll go from 2 to 4 bedroom properties, and I'll just save that. So what will happen now is I'll automatically, every single day for me, when a new property that comes up that's 2 to 4 bed, freehold house that's between 80 and 150 grand, whether it's on Rightmove, On the Market, Zoopla, auctions, or any other place, it will come directly in my inbox. And then what I can do is automatically use LENDLORD to be submitting the offers with the financing already in place. So LENDLORD for me is an amazing one-stop shop where we can utilize this. If you want this, by the way, the link is in the description, and the coolest thing is it's completely free. So it really is a no-brainer. So let's talk about the rate of investment. I'm going to be quite aggressive in the first half of the year. So I break it down into 4 quarters, Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. In Q1, I'm going to be as aggressive as I can be, and I want to focus on trying to get 20 properties added to my portfolio. I'm then going to take it down a notch a little bit through spring, which is going to be 15 new properties. Summer is where I'll start to slow down a bit because I need to get through the backlog of the refurbs, getting them let out, and then I'll see what deals I can get in Q4. The reason I front load is, number one, there's that new year, new me type mentality from a lot of people, including vendors, that in December, people looking to sell their properties go, oh, wait until January, February, etc. So Q1 is a really great opportunity for a lot of different reasons to pick up some amazing deals. And I want to be as aggressive as possible at the start of the year because I personally believe in our areas, based on all of our stats and analysis, that they're going to go up around 5% over the course of the next 9 months. And so for me, I want to be making sure I'm taking advantage of first mover advantage, taking advantage of the software like LENDLORD to get access and buying as much as possible upfront in that first half of the year. So I do think that as we're building the portfolio, you want to be making sure we're managing it effectively. So just as an example of what I do on LENDLORD is I go to manage and my portfolio, and every single year that I'm going to go into January, I like to do a bit of a reflection. So these are 10 properties that I actually own, and I'll go in and update the values of these properties. So you can go into these and you can look into online property valuations, which are pretty cool, and you can get the estimates on there, and you can also get your rental estimates. So for me, I really like doing that. And what LENDLORD taps into, you saw it on there actually, is when you go into evaluation, it taps into the data from property data. You don't need to pay for that, by the way. LENDLORD pays for it. But what it allows us to do is very quickly across the portfolio, we can chuck them in there. And then when I'm looking at new ones, I'll go over to the deal analyzer, so back to invest. And again, if I go back to the postcode that I said earlier, the LS4 2JU property, so we're going over to Haddon Place, and it's probably around 150k there, and monthly rentals of about 850 to 900. So what I'll then do is it's got all of this analysis on there. Now the reason I say this is once you've got your criteria, what a lot of people do is use these outdated spreadsheets and things like that. But when you're investing and looking to grow aggressively, we want to be focusing on making sure that we've got decent data that we can make decisions on. So you can see all of this here, 4.7 average growth over the 5 years, which is good. That's what we're looking at. Rental yield, 8.6%, which is really strong. And then you've got the net income, cap rates, net yield, everything you could possibly need to analyze your property. And then the final thing I like to do is just generate that report. And then once you click that generate report, it will bring it up, create a download, and you've got everything in one place. And for me, that's really important because when I'm making an investment in property, I'm not just looking at the next 6 months. I want the next 10 years of capital growth. And then what LENDLORD does is creates this PDF and shows you the full breakdown of our net operating income and our net cash flow over a 10-year period. And finally, I want to give you a bit of a download on where am I buying, the location. So if you've been watching me for a while, you know I'm very hot on West and South Yorkshire locations. What I've been finding over the last couple of years is the wealth is trickling out a lot further than I originally thought. And I'd like to take advantage of that movement advantage. What does that even mean? So in Leeds, we've got something called the South Bank development. I spoke about it a few times on the channel, where it's about 350 football pitches, which is the second largest residential development in Europe ever. Now, when that level of investment goes in, when you've got hospitals, cinemas, schools, roads, infrastructure, like huge amounts of investment, it doesn't just blow it up there. Like, the way to think about it is they're literally extending the city centre. And this is like insurance companies getting involved and funding this. It's massive. But what happens to all of these surrounding areas is the values are shooting up. So all the way over in even East Yorkshire, we're starting to see this a lot more. So locations such as Doncaster, which is not in East Yorkshire by the way, but Doncaster, we've got Castleford, Pontefract, and even as far out as Gaul, there's some locations now that are very reasonably priced stock that are actually seeing a lot of strong capital growth, whereas maybe it hasn't over the last 10 years. And this is what we look for in opportunity. And I always say, instead of looking at the economy, focus on your economy. And for me, locally, I like to look at infrastructure investment of where this is going in. And again, I know I'm very much pitching LENDLORD here because I absolutely love it and I believe every single one of you should be using it. But one thing I really like is that it also tracks capital growth and investment in areas, so it gives you a decent amount of statistical knowledge so that you can create your own predictions. But for me, West and South Yorkshire is still some of the strongest hotspots, and I'd say 80% of my focus is going to be there, especially across the areas that I've mentioned. But I'm also going to be spending and investing quite heavily in some of those East Yorkshire locations. At the moment, I believe from most territories in the UK, that is going to be one of the best investments in the UK right now. And Nottingham for me is a very close second. And to be honest, if I were in Nottingham or Leeds and surrounding areas right now, I'd be pretty confident. I'm less driven towards Manchester, if I'm honest right now. I think it's a massively overinflated market. I do not think it's going to be a good sort of 3 to 5 year outlook there. I think it's going to stabilise or fall a little bit. And it's turned into a bit more of a glossy off-plan narrative right now, which I just don't buy into at all. I like to invest in the foundations and the economics of investment, and I think that is in Nottingham, West, South, and East Yorkshire right now. I really hope this has been valuable. What I like to do with these types of videos is, number one, show you the tools that I'm genuinely using, because I use LENDLORD not only to source these opportunities, but I've actually funded over £1 million through LENDLORD, and that's them loaning me the money, so you can check that out, which I didn't really go through today. But I also like to give insights on how I'm thinking about the opportunity, how I'm approaching it. And what I'd really love to know from you guys is, number one, what do you think of LENDLORD? Because I absolutely love it. If you're not on there, the link is in the description. Please do let me know your thoughts, and I'll pass it back to LENDLORD as well. But also, what are you doing for 2025? What locations are you focusing on? What investment strategies, and why? Because it's not my way or the highway. I'd love to get insight on what you're doing and why. As I say, I hope this has been valuable. Make sure to hit subscribe and the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.